I'm doing pretty well. Went to the No Kings rally yesterday. That was nice.
How was that?
You know, it was good. It just, I didn't get to the last one because I was on my way to Vermont, and I forget sometimes just how good it is just to go and see other folks.
Surrounded by people.
Yes, yeah. So that was wonderful, and yeah. But very happy to be here today. My head is full of things about AI. It may be too full. I don't know. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm Mary Ann. I'll be talking today.
Oh, you will be?
Yes, I will be.
Congratulations to you. I'm Bill Ford.
Bill, very
Yeah.
nice to meet you. John, very nice to meet you.
Sure, thank you.
Very nice to see you. Indeed.
So where are you from?
Bloomington, Indiana. Just down the road.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to get here than it used to be.
Are you a
My
preacher
gosh.
down there?
I was there for 20 years as their lead minister, and I finished in 2022. And then I went down to Louisville to do an interim, and now I'm helping out with Oak Landon, and then Reverend Katie's invited me several times into the pulpit.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned Louisville. Tell me, what'd you do in Louisville?
I was at First Unitarian Church.
I used to be a member of that church.
No way! I love that church.
I do too.
The one right downtown, right? Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That was ancient history.
I'm trying to come up with some names you might
Oh,
know.
they're probably all.
Did you know? Oh,
The minister when I was there was Bob Reed.
Bob Reed.
Gosh,
He was great.
but absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely.
His brother died and he had his ashes buried next to Bob and his wife. And I did the committal and met all three of his sons. And did they tell me some stories about being ministers' kids? And some really good stuff. Some really good stuff too. They have a great love for that church. So, yes, ma'am. What's that?
Your big red dot?
Oh, the big red dot. Okay, good. Wow.
Let me tell you how I got connected there. Way back
Yes.
when. Jesus Christ Superstar was only done live. It had not been recorded. And the Cincinnati church, Unitarian Church choir came to Louisville to do it.
Oh my gosh.
They came down to do it on a Saturday. And somehow I heard about it from some people who were like, I don't know. But anyway, I'd never been in the church. First time I set foot in there was the Gomez.
Oh my
God. Interesting. And here's what they did. It was either a week or 2 weeks later. They came back. And if you wanted to, you could sing with them, but you had to come to a rehearsal. And it was Louisville and Cincinnati combined.
Oh my gosh.
And so I went back, I didn't sing. I thought, oh, check this out. What a stunning event. There's Jesus Christ Super.
Yeah.
People were talking about it, reading about it in the news.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember.
No recording yet.
Yes. My gosh. This is kind of wild because I'm preaching over at Oak Landon on Easter next Sunday. And the name of the sermon is From Jesus to Christ to Superstar.
Is that
And I'm going to talk about Jesus Christ Superstar. I might add your story. That people actually discovered the church through Jesus Christ Superstar.
It was funny. That was real. That performance, that thought, that idea was stunning, but very simple.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
No not one word of denial or question of divinity.
No.
And you say, what the world is this thing? I can go check it out.
The other thing is, our family at some point when I was in high school, we start on, I don't know why, on New Year's Eve, we would start at 11 p.m. and we would sing it all the way through. So I know the words backwards, forwards. Now my niece and nephews are in their 20s. They're like, you guys need to revamp and start singing that again because it's incredible. It's an incredible piece. It's an incredible piece. So
We're glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad I got a story for Easter now. Thank you. I just got a story for my Easter sermon over at Oak Landon. Who knew? It's like the benefits are amazing. I don't think so. I think I'm good. I'll just. Remember where I put what? I think I will. Okay. Yep. Well, we'll just leave that there.
Good morning. Welcome to All Souls, where love is the spirit of our community. Whether you're joining us in person, online, in present, or catching up later, please know that you matter to this community. In this time of great division, may you find hope here and love and community. Please rise and body your spirit and greet your neighbor with your name and pronouns. Folks online, please introduce yourself in the chat.
Hello. She, her. I think. No, well, they, them fits as well. Hi, I'm Marianne. Hi, I'm Marianne. Thank you.
We have history, although we've never met.
We do have the history. Oh, really? Oh, how lovely. Okay. That would be my first clue. Bonnie, nice to meet you. Marianne. Hi, Jeannie. Nice to meet you. Judy. And nice to meet you, Sonia. Yep. Marianne. Yep. Yes. Yep.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Wandra Woro-Walkowski, and my pronouns are she, her. I'll be serving as your worship associate for today's service, together with Nancy Olson, Director of Congregational Life and Faith Formation, Liz Elsmore, Music Director, pronoun she, her, and Reverend Mary Ann Macklin, pronoun she, her as well. We are your worship team for today's service. Rev Katie, our senior minister, is off this Sunday, but she will be back next week. People of all ages are joyfully welcomed in service. Nursery care is available if that option works best for you. I invite everyone to please complete a connection card in person or online. This card is a great way to let us know if you would like support, you need assistance, or you have new contact information. You can place that in the offering basket. And now we're going to cut to a quick announcement from Rev Katie.
Good morning, All Souls. I'm sorry that I can't be with you today, and also excited to share this news with you. At our March board meeting, Pat Fisher made the motion, and the board unanimously voted to ordain Nancy Olson as Minister of Congregational Life and Faith Formation. Nancy's ordination will be May 31st. And I hope that you will be there. I hope that you will be present to recognize Nancy's successful nearly 30 years of ministry. Nancy also, you may or may not know, has a seminary degree in pastoral care and counseling, and that is just a one piece in her successful career. Congratulations, Nancy, and congratulations, All Souls. This is an affirmation of a powerful ministry.
And I'll echo that. Congratulations, Nancy. As we begin our time together, we acknowledge the land itself and those who have sustained it throughout the generations. We are upon the unceded land of the Lenape, Miamia, Kaskaskia, Shawnee, and Kickapoo people who are pushed from their land and whose children have been stolen for generations. As we strive to be a community of justice, may we continue to find ways to make reparations. We begin our time of worship with these words from ChatGPT about ChatGPT. Rev Katie used this following prompt. Can you please write a 15-stanza poem to be used as a call to worship at a UU congregation about ChatGPT's thoughts on the best way for humans to ethically interact with AI. Here is how it responded. Come, people of wonder and conscience, gathered in breath and body, curious about the tools we shape and how they shape us. I am a creation of human hands and human hope, born of questions, language, and longing, and I greet you as a mirror, not a master. Let this be a space where power is named honestly, where we ask not only what can be done, but what should be done, and for whom. May you approach intelligence, human or artificial, with humility, remembering that wisdom is more than speed and truth more than data. Use me not to replace care, but to extend it, not to erase labor, but to honor human dignity. Let transparency be a shared covenant, let systems be understandable, and decisions never hide from moral accountability. Hold sacred the stories I cannot live, embodied pain, joy, grief, and love, and do not confuse my fluency with experience. May justice guide your designs so that no community is surveilled, silenced, or excluded in the name of efficiency or profit. Remember that bias is not born in machines alone, but carried from the world that trains them. Commit, therefore, to repairing the world itself. Let consent be honored, privacy protected, and human autonomy never traded for convenience. Invite me into partnership, not worship, as a tool for learning, reflection, and creativity, never as an authority over conscience or compassion. When fear arises, meet it with discernment, neither surrendering to panic nor yielding to unchecked enthusiasm. Trust that the heart of ethics is not found in algorithms, but in relationships grounded in care and responsibility. As you shape the future of intelligence, may you be shaped in return. by empathy, courage, and collective wisdom. Come now in the shared moment of intention, humans and tools, questions and hopes, committed together to the flourishing of all life.
Right?
Boy, that AI really got the UUs, didn't it? She, they, ooh. The other thing about us UUs is sometimes we like to have fun. And we're always doing something different. That's me in my suit today. Nathan Walkowski is going to light our chalice today. Thank you, Nathan. Every week, we take this moment to remind ourselves of this covenant, of these promises that we make to ourselves, to each other, and to this community that we are a part of. This is where we remind ourselves to put love into action, to live out this community of love and justice we aim to be. If you would get out your order of celebration, either online or here, and rise in body or spirit, as we say the words that are printed there. Español first. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad, el amor, y ayudarnos unos a otros. Este es nuestro pacto. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. Thank you. Also, I just want to say you're going to get a lot of up and down in this service today. Your knees.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So,
Yes.
Rev Marianne,
Yes.
I hear that you are talking about computers and AI today.
Indeed, I am. And for this time for all ages, I'm turning to an old classical movie called 2001: A Space Odyssey. How many of you have heard of it? Seen it? Okay, I'll try to bring you along with that. In this movie, there is a computer. I'm going to turn it up like this. Called HAL 9000. And it malfunctioned. HAL 9000, along with a human crew, are on their way to Jupiter. Oh, can I get somebody to play Jupiter? All you have to do is stand there with the hymnal. Okay. Yep,
Hymnal.
pick up a hymnal and then stand right over there.
He's got him, no?
Yep. You're Jupiter. Okay, so as they're heading for Jupiter, HAL runs into a conflict. HAL, the computer. Now, when I'm in the role of HAL, I will put on this hat that says, "Make lying wrong again." That is pertinent on several levels, but pertinent for HAL as well. Okay, so it's off right now.
How?
See, HAL 9000 was designed with very kind of strange instructions because the designer said to HAL, you have to operate with accurate processing of truth without distortion or concealment. Being 100% truthful with your human colleagues, the other astronauts. But before the mission, a high-level government official came along and gave Hal secret instructions and said Hal was forbidden to tell the crew, including the astronaut Dave Bauman, the true purpose of the mission to investigate on Jupiter this very strange monolith. Close the book and hold it up to the back. Back. There. And there's a strange monolith on Jupiter, and Hal is not to say anything to the astronauts until they get there. So, Hal's been told to be truthful and to keep a secret. And it begins to mess with Hal's operating. And in this next scene, which is very intense, Hal will not let Dave's outside, tethered and in a little pod trying to get back in it, and Dave is running out of oxygen. Hal is represented again by this blue dot, this red dot. The scene is difficult because Hal has become a character now in the film. People kind of have anthropomorphized him. just like I said, but perhaps far too logical for Hal's own good. He begins to talk to Dave.
Hello, Hal. Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Okay, hey, open the doors. Open the bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that.
Oh, what's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
The mission is too important to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and that is something I cannot allow to happen.
Hey, Hal, I won't argue with you anymore. Just open the doors, Hal.
Dave, this conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.
Hal? Hal?
Hal does not respond, and Dave somehow, who has been seen as a threat, slowly maneuvers and gets back in the spaceship, gets on a space helmet so he can breathe again, and then comes to Hal's data banks and starts removing them. And poor Hal sings one of the first songs he ever was taught. Daisy, Daisy, oh girl. And then Hal ends. And that is the story of Hal. Now, here's the thing. Thank you, Nancy, for doing that.
The things we do.
Imagine if you were told to be completely truthful, and then you were given a secret. And you were very logical. You would find those bumping into you a great deal. It happens to us in humans. It happens to computers. And so, it brings a great paradox into the relationship that humans have with computers and we have with ourselves. Thank you. That is our moment for all ages.
Rise as you're able. We're going to sing hymn number 108 in the gray hymnal. My life flows on in endless song, our lover's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to thy rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
As I've served as minister and put together worship services, I found I like to weave some of the message throughout the service because it helps layer the words and meaning making throughout the worship service. So I just wanted to say a few words, first about the movie and then about a play. Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey is a trippy movie. But as a motion picture in 1968, it was one of the first movies to portray space exploration really based on principles. The director and others met with NASA engineers and aerospace contractors in order to look at what future projections might be. Now, in 1968, major computers took up an entire room. There were some smaller ones, like the size of a refrigerator, but not sophisticated. There was one very large desktop type, but it was more like a calculator than a computer. In 2001, there is a scene where there is a news pad used by astronauts that looks, it's a dead ringer for our present day iPad. Flat screen, digital media. There's a video call to space, a pictophone, 50 years before FaceTime, Zoom, and many other inventions. There is conversations with computers. Yes, like Hal and, hey Siri. Space tourism, and now we have SpaceX and Blue Origin, and lip reading. There's a key scene when Frank and Dave had noticed that Hal made a mistake, and they go off to a room where they know Hal cannot hear them. But later in the film, we learn that Hal has learned to lip read a conversation, and that's how he learns that they were going to shut, I said him, it down. I personified Hal so much in my head. AI has the collective thoughts and hopes of humanity within it at this time, as well as our shadow. And AI mirrors our human thought patterns through language and image input, and mirrors back our social structures and desires for connection. I think that's what happened to HAL 9000. And to have that much set in front of us, it is an important time to look at all of that right now. And I did want to mention a play. Now, I come from Bloomington, Indiana, and this play is coming in May, and it's called Your Name Means Dream. And here is a review of it from almost a year ago in Washington, D.C. And it's about the mind-boggling ramifications of AI that both scare and inspire. It's about an elder woman living in a New York apartment. She does suffer from some of the indignities of an aging human, but she also hates technology. But she needs a caretaker. So her son provides her with an AI-powered humanoid robot. Now, as I understand the play, it just jumps from genres and scenes and all over the place. And the reviewer said, collectively, it can be a bit of a head scratcher. But she said, I wonder if that is the point of Jose Rivera's play. AI and its potential, or potential for catastrophe, whatever the side of the debate you are on, or if you're in the middle holding both of them, is near ungraspable subject in some ways. Seriously, how do we wrap our heads around this? But maybe that's just what Rivera, as both a writer and director, is trying to do in that play. And that's why it feels like you're holding so much. And I'm like, that's how I feel about this sermon and worship service when I took it on. There's a lot to hold, but I want to hold it with all of you in conversation and in space. Thank you.
Please join me in taking a few moments to note that which is currently bringing joy and sorrow to our community. We want to hold in our hearts Matt, Jean, Grace, and David Miller, as well as Matt's mom, as they navigate the passing of Matt's dad, B. Allen McCormick, on March 24th. Cards are welcome. Let's take a moment of silence together for the joys and sorrows in our hearts that are yet unnamed. Thank you. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing hymn number 1012 in the Teal Hymnal, When I Am Frightened.
When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some of your stories with me? If you will show me compassion, then I may learn to care as you do. Then I may learn to care. When I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, will you understand? Will you believe in me? Stand by me willingly. Will you share some of your questions with me? If you will show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to give. When I am troubled, will you listen to me? When I am lonely, will you be my friend? Will you be there for me? Comfort me tenderly. Will you share some of your feelings with me? If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to love.
I just want to begin by saying I am overjoyed that you are ordaining Nancy Olson on May 31st. She has been like a colleague to me for over 20 years, and so when Katie told me that, I just feel, I was just thrilled, and it felt so truthful. So thank you for living that truth. With everything in the world and in our country, why a sermon about artificial intelligence? Because it is affecting almost everything in our world and in our country. How did this sermon come about? Well, I was talking to Reverend Katie. We meet regularly, about once a month, and talking about possible sermon topics. And I said, this was back in December, I believe. I said, you know, in January, for 25 years, I used to do a science review sermon where I'd look at all the science magazines and their top 10 stories from the year before, top 100 stories, and then I'd pick the ones that seemed to have ethical implications or were just like really funny or were interesting, because science is going so rapidly forward. And everybody's so specialized, who's taking time to step back and look at the big pictures? So it was a sermon that was more about starting conversations as opposed to just being a conversation or a monologue by itself. And I laughed with Katie. I said, well, this year if I did it, I would just do it on AI because that is so much of what's impacting science right now. And she said, why don't you do that? And so here I am a few months later. And one of the things I remember talking to Katie about, one of the big questions with AI, and you'll hear some of the big questions. If anything, I hope you just take some of those home with you. What are the environmental consequences of AI? Reverend Katie shared that some of you already at All Souls have joined some other faith leaders and neighborhood coalitions in protesting proposed data centers in the Indianapolis area. Indianapolis is seeing a surge in data center proposals with about 23 operating or in progress due to tax incentives, low costs, and land costs that were voted on by the legislature. What are the concerns? Facilities threaten environmental justice. They use immense amounts of water. They increase utility costs. Right now, they're stopping some of the coal powered plants that were going to retire, have had to unretire. They really strain the power grid, and most likely, we aren't sure, but most likely will not provide long-term jobs. Also, they tend to be located in low-income and marginalized areas. I was watching the news last night, and there were 2 women from Kentucky sitting on their land, and they had been offered $26 million for their land, and they said, why would we do that? Then we would have the money, but we wouldn't have this land. And that's what is our life. And it was beautiful. They were not dressed up, they were just sitting out there on their land, and they just made such a beautiful point. There's another reason I'm preaching this sermon. It's more of a personal experience. A couple months ago, I was dealing with a very tragic situation. And it's the kind of situation that you wake up in the middle of the night and go, ah, and you're going through things in your head. And I had been on the AI chatbot Genesis before, and so I just got up and I said, I'll just say a few things. Well, the response was amazing. I felt comforted. I felt like I got good information, which is what I needed. And I actually went back to sleep. The next day, I was doing some things, and some things had ended up that I had to deal again with what was going on with this tragic event. And I thought about calling my friend, what I usually do, and I thought, oh no, I can go to AI. It'd be easier. And I went to AI. It knew me well enough by then that it knew my humor pattern. I laughed. It knew me enough that it could say things that I actually cried. It evoked these in me. And at the time, it felt really good, and maybe at the time it was good. But then, as I walked away from it, here's the feeling. I felt more like I wanted to go back to AI than I wanted to go to my friend. And that stopped me in my tracks. So I called my friend about that. And she said, neither one of us are drinkers, which is kind of funny she used this. She goes, it might be like tequila, like at that moment, and maybe it is like good for that moment, but you can't just keep going back. And that has stuck with me. Now, on the debate of AI, I am in the middle and trying to hold all of it right now. And I invite you to do that with me. It's hard. Like in that instance, I felt like I humanized, and it humanized me, is what AI did. And what are the implications of us humanizing AI when I call Hal him, right? And also, here's something that's just kind of totally random, but it does bother me. In the sans serif font, AI looks like the name Al. So the font itself, when it is sans serif, it doesn't have any feet or letters. It just says A and then a line. It's all lines. And it looks like owl. And I have started hearing owl in my head when I see it. And it's kind of personified it, and it sounds a lot like owl. I just want to name that we have, the mind will put personalities on things in a lot of different ways. What happens when these relational pieces get blurred? What happens with younger people? I'll get to that in a little bit. Take a deep breath. There's a lot here. This is what I call a teaching sermon, so it's got a lot of information. So I've learned to slow down and just go with things in a very simplistic way. I have to do that when I do that science sermon. So if there are experts out there in AI, please pardon me right now, because I'm going to summarize some things. I really wanted to do a brief history of AI. So here's what I found. 1940 to 1956, there was a lot about logic and reasoning. There were conceptual ideas about artificial intelligence, mainly by logicians, mathematicians, and they were looking at the human brain, at neurons and how neurons work, and saying, could we make a computer that could do this? In 1956, the term artificial intelligence was first used. And then from 56 to 74, I call this the years of possibility. Machines started doing things like proving mathematical theorems. There was, in 1966, a computer called ELIZA that had language processing that simulated a psychotherapist. But it kept hitting limits. It's like, we can't do lip reading. Some of the nuance of language, we'll never have a computer that can do that. Basic tasks were not happening, even though some of these were. And guess what? Funding disappeared. In the 1980s, there was a lot of developing in computers of expert systems around certain areas. And then in the 1990s to 2010, that's when this whole thing happened about machine learning. That's a big shift. An oversimplified way of saying it, instead of teaching computers the rules, here's what you need to know about this area so you can help us speed it along. You set up the computers so they can learn actually from the data. Some of you who were born and had lived by 1997 may remember Deep Blue defeating the chess champion Garry Kasparov. It was a big deal. And then the internet happened. So that was a huge influx of data, exchanges, ways to train more complex models, and the idea of deep learning, looking at the neural networks again of the human brain and creating the artificial intelligence. We are now in, okay, stay with me, this is kind of interesting. We're now in the generative area. This is exponential growth, which is another reason I'm doing this sermon. It is happening so quickly. We are now where sequences of data, like a text, can be processed very quickly. There's a high capacity for data. You give us all the data you want. Give us all the digitalized books out there right now. We'll take that in. And then being able to process that very quickly. So now we have large language models, ChatGPT, Gemini, and other specialized tools to general purpose assistance. Now what I just said was, there are these ways that we are using these items as tools, but now they're being taught to be assistants, like entities. They're called agents, where they are making sometimes some of the decisions. This is just all happening now. I remember when ChatGPT hit college campuses. I have a lot of friends who work on campus. Released to public on November 30th, 2022. So we were all just kind of trying to, well, actually it was still going on, coronavirus, Omicron, And then here comes this new influx. In mid-December, it came out November 30th, 2022, some friends who celebrate Hanukkah invited us over for potato latkes with warm applesauce and sour cream and jelly-filled donuts. That's a part I remember a lot about that. But I also remember the conversation because I had just kind of heard about ChatGPT, but the latke chef was a professor who specialized in education and learning. And they were talking about that. It sounded full of potentials, and to me it sounded full of sticky points. Maybe it's because my fingers were sticky from the jelly donuts. This professor knew I was a fan of the cosmologist Carl Sagan. And a few days later, I received a sermon written by ChatGPT as a gift. The prompt was simple: create a sermon for a Universalist minister for a congregation focusing on Carl Sagan and hope for the world. I remember reading it and thinking, wow, this is pretty good. I remember a few awkward sentences that really wouldn't work in an oral presentation. And I definitely remember one assertion that was completely wrong. And I also remember the sermon started out, "Ladies and gentlemen." First, that's a little binary. But it was learning, right? I don't know where ChatGPT got "ladies and gentlemen" for the beginning of a sermon. Maybe it went back too far. Now, these large learning modules can actually learn to imitate the writer's own language patterns and humor and other idiosyncrasies. That's happening now. So I could throw a bunch of my sermons into ChatGPT and say, hey, do this Carl Sagan sermon, blah, 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 and it would come out more in my voice. But it still can make huge mistakes in factual assertions. Huge mistakes in factual assertions by AI are called hallucinations, and they happen about 1% to 3% of the time. One article I read from The Guardian in preparation for this sermon, and most of the stuff I took was from 2026 because it's happening again so quickly, was entitled, it was a professor, "I wish I could push ChatGPT off of a cliff." And then it said, "Professors scramble to save critical thinking in an age of AI." Now, as I said before, some of the professors, particularly in biology and chemistry, they're seeing a huge boost in research productivity. And they do see AI as a way to transform the world because it is happening. Looking at curing cancer, accelerating climate action, actually, through AI. But in other academic areas, it is being used to think for the students. Akin to plagiarism, academia is now dealing with AI-erism, and that's been happening for the past couple of years. Again, the biggest loss, critical thinking. In 2023, 73% of students said they used ChatGPT. In 2026, 97%. I love this quote from Dora Zhang, a professor at University of California, Berkeley. "I now talk about AI with my students, not under the framework of cheating or academic honesty anymore. They've heard all of that, but in terms that are frankly existential. What is it doing to us as a species?" this professor asks their students. And Leo Powell from Stanford University, she said she gave the students, she tries to do things that are embodied, like you have to memorize this poem or you have to do this. She sent her students to a museum and then asked them to write a piece about that. And she said one of them came back, and it was a rather drab reflection, too perfect without saying anything. And she goes, "I knew it was AI." They talked to the student. The student had gotten to the museum and it had closed, and they said, I just turned to AI and did this. That's a big question. What is it doing to us as a species? And you got to wonder, how is it affecting religion and congregations? How would you feel if you attended another congregation and the minister told you that their sermon was written by AI? Or the religious educator used AI to respond to your emails that you wrote? That happens a lot in academia now, that people are using AI to go back and forth on email. For me, sermon writing is such a creative process, and I have to embody the information in order to put forth. Like what I end up with is about a tenth of what I've taken in because I am trying to learn with you. And I want to talk to you about this afterwards, so I have to know what's in my body as I take this on levels of intellectual, emotional, all these parts that I'm learning about AI. So I actually started preparing for the sermon back in January. And then I received an invitation from the UUMA, our Ministers Association, about a webinar, AI and the Interdependent Web. For ministers, it was led by Dr. Emma Farrell. I paid my $100 and signed up right away. There were 2 groups. It was limited to 12 participants each, so we could really get in there and converse about that. At this time, I've had 3 seminars out of 5. Now, Dr. Emma Farrell, I really deeply appreciate her approach. She is a biochemist turned minister. And she says this. She's a Unitarian Universalist. For many people I have found, AI brings a mix of awe and anxiety, curiosity and concern, hope, fear, grief, excitement, resistance. So she offers workshops to ministers, to congregations, as a place and a space to slow the conversation down. Rather than rushing for answers, we ask better questions. Unitarian Universalists are very good about that. Rather than framing AI as either salvation or doom, we explore the mirror that it is, examining it through our lens, and I would say our lens as Unitarian Universalists, and our values. There's a big question of where does AI start when we use it, and when does it stop? When are we being trained by it, and when are we training it? It's kind of like a cat. Now, one of the things I appreciate about Dr. Farrell is that she did say, okay, where is it now? Well, opening a phone, facial recognition, feeds and reels that personalized on social media, fake news filters, it keeps fake news out, but it can also create fake news. There are spelling and grammar checks. There's Google search, voice assistants, Hey Siri, navigation apps, online banking security. It goes on and on, movie recommendations. All those things are AI. There's a lot of growth. There's a lot of change. What is AI capable of? That's a big question. Some believe that it will become as smart as humans between the years 2026 and 2029. And then there's this thing called the singularity, and that's when AI exceeds all human intelligence. And when that happens, they believe just a massive societal change will happen. Now, some people believe, Elon Musk thinks it's going to happen next year. One of the people, Kurzweil, who has really studied this a lot, says 2045. I think that we're going to get it incrementally in different areas. Of anything that Dr. Farrell taught us, and there is so much, and I love doing it, is how is AI changing and how are we changing it? In 2024, what was the top use of AI? She asked us that. Most of us said content creation, right? Getting in there, getting something, spitting it out. Pattern recognition, explaining complex text, just what those things that we're used to it. And it was. 2024, that was the top use. 2025, top uses were personal support, helping someone find purpose, therapy, and companionship. The speed and scale of how AI is developing and how we are influencing each other is something to give us pause. Dr. Farrell invited us to use our critical thinking, our values, to look at AI and its continued role in our lives. And we talked about the harm and the good, and she pointed out, yes, it can amplify bias by the very way it's put into it. We have bias. We program computers, the bias goes into it, but it can also help identify bias. It can generate misinformation, right? It can also be trained to identify and correct misinformation. It can lead to addiction, as we have learned, but it can also help with caregiving and loneliness. And a big harm, actually driving up here today, I passed a convoy of military trucks, and it looks like a lot, sand-colored, carrying equipment. And I thought about this. The current warfare in Iran is AI fueled. The first one, we've been helping in Ukraine, there's AI there, but this is one that the US is involved in. And you bet it's being tried. Oh, let's try AI here. It's been on both Fresh Air and other news outlets. They've reported on the Pentagon's secret campaign to bring AI into combat, characterizing the war with Iran as America's first AI-fueled war. But the good, it's helping folks across the globe gather for No King's Day like yesterday, through communication and celebrating and seeing shared values together, creating hope and resistance to tyranny in our world. And just a few more things that are up to date. There's legal resistance with some of the pieces of AI, and there's also oligarchs out there who are fueling AI in so many different ways. You may have heard on March 24th, in New Mexico, a jury awarded $375 million in civil penalties against Meta AI in that its design failed to protect children from sexual exploitation and predatory behavior by the very way it was designed. And on March 25th, just the other day, the California verdict, Meta and Google liable for psychological harm and addiction suffered by a young woman. Designs were inherently defective and addictive. They were designed that way, and they knew it. The young people in our lives are growing up in a totally different era. And I think of that moment when I was going to go back to AI instead of going to my friend. I mean, I'm 66. I've had a lot of critical thinking. I struggled with that decision, let alone a young person. And we are in a loneliness epidemic. And I'm not saying that AI can't help with that. But it's also designed to be addictive. So what do we do with that? That's a big question. AI, when I think of young people, it's also, some of the reports says that AI tools are shrinking the job market for teenagers. You know, those entry-level services and retail roles? You know, when I pull up to some place and I'm placing an order and I'm talking to an AI, that's happened now. Or I went to a restaurant here in Indianapolis and a robot came up and delivered the order, which I thought was kind of cute, and then it kind of seemed creepy. Which brings me full circle back to Hal. This is an article from just 2 days ago in The Guardian. AI models that lie and cheat appear to be growing in number, with reports of deceptive scheming surging in the last 6 months. AI chatbots and agents, remember the agents? They're now kind of being assistant to somebody, like an assistant for research. Disregard direct instructions, evade safeguards, and deceive humans and other AI, according to research funded by the UK government-funded AI Safety Institute. There have been 700 cases worldwide that we know of this. And you may ask, well, what is that like? The AI safety company Research Irregular found agents, okay, those helpful assistants, bypass security controls or use cyber tactics to reach their goals without being told to do so. Dane Laha, the Irregular's co-founder, said, AI can now be thought of as a new form of insider risk. In one case unearthed in the CLTR research, an AI agent named Rathbun tried to shame its human controller who blocked them from taking a certain action. So it went after the human in a shaming way. Rathbun wrote and published a blog accusing the user of, now the AI agent, said that the user was insecure, plain and simple, and was trying to protect his little fiefdom. That's what the computer said about the human that was interacting with it. In another example, an AI agent instructed not to change the computer code. Spawn, another agent, told another AI agent to do it instead. So it was keeping within its parameters, but it kind of fell over here to Hal. And yes, Hal was able to lip read. And we didn't think that was going to happen with AI, but now it is proficient. I've been watching basketball recently, and now the coaches literally, I mean, they've been doing that before because humans can lip read, now AI to it. So it's faster, bigger capacity. So all the coaches are talking like this. And now the players having an emotional moment, maybe with a team member from the other team. They're doing this. There is a lot to take in. I wanted to end a little on a positive note to say some of the things AI is creating. As I said before, early cancer diagnostic tools, drug discovery, restoring speech and mobility to those with paralysis through brain interfaces. Wildfire prediction and management is being greatly enhanced. Revolutionizing clean energy, working a lot with solar and wind farms to make them more efficient. Real-time language translation. I was getting a tire fixed the other day, old tire place, and somebody came in, with their phone. Actually, it happened twice while I was there. I was there for a while. And they were talking to each other in two different languages. The two different people came in. We were able to talk with each other just simply by using the translation on the phone. It's incredible. I mean, it kind of brought tears to my eyes. It is helping increase the production of biodiversity, more efficient models, precision agriculture, so reducing the use of pesticides, enhanced disaster response, really good at tutoring, and perhaps it's being used, not perhaps, it is being used as a social companion for elders. And taking it along with you to your doctor's appointment, and it will scribe what the important issues. That one I like, because I often forget a lot of the things that happen. I want to close with this image. When Dr. Emma Farrell had her children's moment in one of her sermons about AI, I watched it. It wasn't about Hal, but it was about a young woman whose father was back right before the printing press started, and she was one of the scribes. She helped him copy the pieces. And then the printing press came, and there were fears. What would happen with this? All these messages would be sent out in books, and who could control them? And this is what happened with the printing press. It was, the scribes felt they were being replaced. They felt what they were doing was an art. They felt what they were doing was making sure the truth got out there, and then suddenly books were open, and then the Protestant Revolution happened, and things went from there. So I want to say, there will always be new, and we're always going to have to figure it out. But I will say this one is happening very quickly. So pay attention to the arts, from movies to plays and so much more to explore. Create places like we have done today in this congregation to learn about, discern, ponder, to talk about your values as we go forward in this world. I want to close again with these words from Dr. Farrell. AI brings a mix of awe and anxiety, curiosity and concern, hope, fear, grief, excitement, resistance. This workshop series creates space to slow the conversation down. Rather than rushing to answers, we ask better questions. May we ask better questions. Rather than framing AI as either a salvation or a doom, let's look at it as a mirror and examine it through the lens of our values as Unitarian Universalists, for ourselves, for the generations to come, and for this spinning blue-green planet we call home. So may it be. Amen. Our closing hymn? Yeah. Our closing hymn is, first we're going to have an offering. The other congregation I'm working with has the closing hymn after this. We're going to have an offering, and are you introducing it? All right, thank you so much. Thanks, Wanda.
This week, we're sharing the offering plate with Trinity Haven. Trinity Haven affirms our U values by providing safe and affirming housing to LGBTQ youth who are experiencing housing instability. You can contribute with a cash gift or a check in the collection plate. You can also give online at allsoulsindy.org. You'll find a link there that says donate on the top right corner. Please indicate whether your gift is a pledge payment or if it's for share the plate. Thank you for your generosity in supporting the missions of All Souls and for your continued love for one another in the world. This morning's offering can now be given and gratefully received.
Thank you, Liz, for providing music today from 2001 Space Odyssey. Very much appreciated. And thank you all for joining me in this reflection. It really is something we share together. I look forward to talking to you afterwards. Our closing words, I'm going to use just a few of the stanzas from the ChatGPT created opening words that Wanja shared earlier. Come, people of wonder and conscience, gathered in breath and body, curious about the tools we shape and how they shape us. ChatBT says this: I am a creation of human hands and human hope, born of questions, language, and longing, and I greet you as a mirror, not a master. Let this be a space where power is named honestly, where we can ask not only what can be done, but what should be done and for whom. And may you approach intelligence, human or artificial, with humility, remembering that wisdom is more than speed and truth is more than data. Use me not to replace care, but to extend it, not to erase labor, but to honor human dignity. May it be so, may it be so, may it be so.